Chapter 201. Harry, is it true that I am no longer a pure boy? Headmaster's office. Both Dumbledore and Snape wore grave expressions. Although the common room appears to have been thoroughly searched, it seems to me that there wasn't much lost at all, Dumbledore mused. That thief, let's call him that for now, even if he managed to sell all those items, he wouldn't have earned many galleons. In other words, stealing wasn't his actual goal. Snape declared emphatically. Rather than a thief, he seems to have been searching for something. Dumbledore folded his hands together, deep in thought. Are you suggesting he ransacked the Slytherin common room merely to cover up any traces of his search for a certain item? Apart from that, I truly can't fathom any other motive. Why would he risk so much just to steal a bunch of items he couldn't even sell? Dumbledore smiled. Not to boast, but should that thief ever attempt to sell anything belonging to Hogwarts, I'd definitely hear about it at once. Then, using my 057 method, I'd instantly identify him. You're aware of my extensive network. So, what exactly is he looking for? Do you recall what I mentioned to you before the term began? You mean Lucius's plan to have that Weasley girl smuggle a dark magic artifact into Hogwarts? But later, you discreetly inspected her belongings. No such item was found. And now, that girl seems perfectly fine, showing no signs of being controlled by dark magic. Perhaps the item did get in, but not as originally intended. All this information comes from Dobby, the freed house elf from Lucius's household. I know he's truthful. He also mentioned that this dark magic artifact could reopen the Chamber of Secrets. Are you implying that the thief seeks to locate and reopen Slytherin's chamber? No other explanation makes any sense. Silence once again enveloped the headmaster's office. Everything was proceeding exactly as Xiaji had predicted, smoothly and methodically. Cassandra, Hermione, shall we go check on Harry? Xiaji suggested eagerly. Cassandra nodded affirmatively. Hermione asked, has Harry reverted back to normal? Reverted? If I hadn't stepped in, he'd never have been able to change back at all. Just thinking of this made Xiaji grit his teeth in frustration. Snape truly was utterly monstrous. He'd actually planned to keep refilling Harry's cup endlessly. Harry would be incredibly valuable to him in the future. He absolutely couldn't allow Snape to ruin him. Xiaji finished his last sip of millet porridge, then grabbed a bun and stuffed it into his mouth, preparing to join Cassandra and the others in checking on Harry. Xiaji, do you know where Harry is? Yesterday, he came looking for you, then didn't return to his dormitory at night. I assumed he'd been out on a nocturnal adventure, so I paid it no mind, but he still hadn't returned by morning, Ron asked Xiaji anxiously, concerned about his best friend. Due to certain unforeseen circumstances, he's currently in Professor Snape's office. Ron's eyes widened in shock. Harry was in Snape's hands, and had been there all night. There was no way Harry could have fared well under such circumstances. Did Harry get caught sneaking around last night and brought to Snape? Ron guessed. Well, for various reasons, I can't explain it now. But would you like to come along? Let's go see Harry together. Once you see her, you'll understand. Xiaji's lips curled into a slight smile. He gazed at Ron full of anticipation. How would his best friend react upon seeing him transformed into a girl? Her. Ron momentarily thought he'd misheard. Oh, Xiaji. Hermione looked at him with utter exasperation. This was such a mischievous prank. Relax. Snape isn't in his office right now. This is the perfect time to go. Xiaji patted Ron on the shoulder and strode forward. But Xiaji, how did you know Snape wasn't there? Ron asked nervously. Visiting Harry in Snape's office? That was downright insane. Yet Ron still hurried after him. Soon, they reached Snape's office. Xiaji approached the door and knocked. Harry, are you in? Inside Snape's office, Harry lay on a makeshift bed, eyes vacant as they stared at the ceiling. This weekend had been utterly dreadful. Normally, he'd be playing chess or wizard's chess with his friends right now, but instead, he was trapped in Snape's gloomy office, unable to leave. Where else could he possibly go in his current state? Yet, even now, he held no ill will towards Xiaji. After all, it was his own fault for greedily drinking someone else's potion. Just as despair weighed heavily on his heart, Xiaji's voice rang out from outside. I'm here. Harry leapt up excitedly, yanked the door open, and found himself face to face with Ron. WTF? Ron's expression was priceless. He instantly recognized the lightning-shaped scar on this adorable girl's forehead. Merlin's pants. What the hell did that perverted old Snape do to you? Ron's young heart had taken a massive blow. He'd assumed Snape had used some twisted method to transform Harry into this form. We're here to rescue you. Come with us. We'll find Professor Dumbledore. He'll definitely be able to turn you back. Ron grabbed Harry's hand and tried to pull him away.
No, Ron.
Where could I possibly go like this? Harry cried in desperation. But you can't possibly stay like this forever. Ron sized Harry up. Huh. He actually looked pretty cute like this. Oh, no. That was completely inappropriate. Absolutely wrong. Ron, what kind of look was that? Harry stared at him suspiciously. Me? What look? You've completely turned into a girl now. Do you expect me to stay completely unfazed? Harry paused to consider it. Yes, if Ron suddenly appeared as a girl, he'd undoubtedly react strangely too. All right. Harry, I'm here to save you. Xiaji gently pushed Ron aside. Snape would be returning soon. He had to transform Harry back at once. You can turn me back? Yesterday I couldn't, but today I can. This is the antidote I brewed all night long, though there might be a few minor side effects. Xiaji pulled out a silver potion bottle and waved it toward Harry. What kind of side effects? Hard to say. It was a last-minute concoction. Maybe you'd be better off staying here a few days? I'll test the antidote thoroughly first, then come back for you.
No.
I'd rather drink the potion with side effects than stay here another second. Harry snatched the potion from Xiaji's hand, unscrewed the cap, and gulped it down in one go. Seeing this, Xiaji's lips curved upward once more. After drinking the potion, Harry eagerly awaited his transformation back, but minutes passed with no change whatsoever. Xiaji, the potion didn't work. Harry wailed in distress. Harry, try focusing your mind on reverting back to a boy, Xiaji replied uncertainly. With no other options, Harry shut his eyes tight, and soon, his hair shortened, his facial features shifted. Moments later, he'd transformed back. Feeling the familiar sensations return, Harry wept with joy. Thank you, Xiaji. I'm back to normal at last. Yet Xiaji gazed at him gravely. So this was the side effect. Actually, it's not too bad. Barely any impact at all. Gulp. Harry swallowed hard. His heart seemed to sink rapidly. Wow, what side effect? Well, it seems you'll now be able to shift between boy and girl forms at will. Though, it barely matters as long as you avoid staying in girl form. Xiaji clapped a hand over his mouth, feigning deep sorrow. Only Cassandra and Hermione knew he was desperately trying not to burst out laughing. This was such a cruel prank. Oh, I know. Harry let out a pained groan. From now on, he'd no longer be a purely male boy ever again. Chapter 202. Snape. But what is the price? Harry, it's all right. As long as you don't wish to turn into a girl, this side effect won't affect your future life at all. Xiaji patted Harry on the shoulder. Harry nodded solemnly. Indeed, this side effect seemed quite tolerable for now. After all, it would be far worse if there were some missing parts or other unpleasant consequences. You guys go ahead. I'll stay here and wait for Professor Snape. Now that you've reverted back, I ought to inform him. Xiaji smiled gently. All right. Harry finally felt a bit better now. At least he could leave this place. He truly had no desire to see Snape's perpetually gloomy face ever again. Oh, and Harry. Xiaji called out to Harry, who was about to leave. If you ever wish to change your gender in the future, you must be absolutely certain in your heart. Otherwise what? Otherwise, you might end up as a girl with distinctly masculine traits, and it could be permanent. Xiaji rubbed his nose. You certainly wouldn't want to stay that way forever, right? Harry stared at him in sheer horror. I'll never turn into a girl again. With that, Harry headed back together with Cassandra and the others. From a distance, Xiaji still heard Ron curiously asking, Harry, how does it feel to become a girl? Oh, Ron, stop asking. Xiaoji pulled over a chair and sat down. Never wanting to turn into a girl again?
Ha.
Such things. There's only a zero and an infinite number of times. Should he perhaps cultivate Harry's interest in wearing feminine clothes? Xiaoji idly pondered such thoughts. Snape returned far sooner than Xiaoji had anticipated. Evidently, he still harbored thoughts of Lily back in his office. Snape immediately noticed the open office door and Xiaoji sitting inside. His heart sank instantly. Originally, he'd planned to head to Gryffindor Tower, drag Xiaoji back, and study that potion formula together, hoping to permanently transform Harry into a girl.
But now...
Where's Potter? Snape fixed Xiaoji with those lifeless eyes and spoke coldly. He's gone back. He reverted back? Snape's voice turned grave.
Yes.
It took me all night, but I finally concocted the antidote. Xiaoji watched Snape's expression with great interest. Snape's lips twitched, then he forcibly suppressed it before returning to his desk. Humph. If you could handle it yourself, why bring it to me? Xiaoji's lips curled slightly. Naturally, because I wanted you to see an old acquaintance. Clang. Snape suddenly stood up, knocking over a cauldron on his desk. Its remaining contents spilled all over the floor. Calm down, Professor Snape. Xiaoji spoke indifferently, then snapped his fingers, instantly cleaning up all the spilled potion. What else do you know? Snape spoke hollowly. I know far more than you can possibly imagine. Xiaoji's pitch-black eyes stared unblinkingly into Snape's pupils. Clang. Snape slammed both hands onto the desk, leaning forward intensely. His hook-nosed face came perilously close to Xiaoji as he hissed, I warn you, don't dare read my thoughts ever again.
Ha.
Professor Snape, I'd have thought you'd possess greater confidence in your own acclimacy. Xiaoji subtly shifted his chair back, putting some distance between them. And trust me, I have no need for legitimacy to learn about you. I don't care where you've learned anything about me. You'd best forget it at once. Otherwise, Snape attempted to threaten Xiaoji, yet faltered upon seeing his unruffled composure. Because suddenly, he recalled he stood absolutely no chance against Xiaoji. I've been studying soul magic and progress has been quite promising. On occasion, I've realized that ghosts, or rather, spirits of the dead, all fall under the purview of soul magic. Xiaoji spoke softly, almost dreamily. What do you mean? Snape's empty eyes flickered with an inexplicable gleam. Lately, I've occasionally encountered a ghost who journeyed to the land of the dead and returned successfully. From her, I've gleaned some rather useful insights. The land of the dead? Surely you don't believe souls vanish completely upon death? They merely proceed to their destined place. Are you implying they can return? Theoretically, yes. Lately, I've been delving deeply into this field. Xiaoji habitually spun his ring. Which means, in truth, you still can't. That's merely a matter of time, Professor. I'm quite confident about it. Whether you believe it or not, though, rests entirely with you. Xiaoji rose to his feet. He'd stayed long enough. Just as he neared the door, Snape, who'd remained silent until now, spoke gravely. So, what's the price? The price? What must I do? Snape enunciated each word carefully. This was a glimmer of hope. Even if it might merely be a jest, it was still hope. Snape chose to believe it. He truly wished to believe it. How deeply he longed to stand before that person, sincerely apologize for his youthful folly, then proudly recount all he'd accomplished for her over the years. I require no price at all, Professor Snape. I simply wish to befriend you. Though, I believe we've already been friends for quite some time, haven't we? Snape watched, utterly bewildered, as Xiaoji departed his office with such ease. He'd already prepared himself to endure any unpleasant task for Xiaoji's sake, just as he'd once agreed with Dumbledore. Yet Xiaoji claimed friendship alone sufficed? Slowly, Snape collapsed back into his chair, then noticed a ring resting atop his desk. Xiaoji had left so nonchalantly, yet now Xiaoji regretted it. He ought to have asked Snape to exempt him from all future assignments. Was there still time to return and request that? Tom Riddle gradually awoke, as though he'd endured an exceptionally lengthy dream. It seemed to repeat endlessly. He kept sprinting within it, yet never managed to escape. Upon waking, though, he recalled nothing specific about it. Where am I? He surveyed his surroundings, utterly pitch black, devoid of any light. Could this be another dream? His memories felt slightly blurred. Many details eluded him. All he recalled now was being a student at a magical school called Hogwarts. Tom attempted to summon his wand, cast Lumos, then took tentative steps into the darkness. Yet Tom froze instantly. He couldn't perform any action whatsoever. He had no hands to wield a wand, no feet to walk, no mouth to cry out, no eyes to see. An unprecedented wave of terror surged through him, an emotion he rarely ever felt. Only once before, when he'd witnessed death firsthand. Since then, he'd relentlessly sought ways to escape death itself. Gradually, his memories sharpened. One after another, they resurfaced like tumbling dominoes. Tom finally recalled everything. He remembered that silhouette. That silhouette was him. He was Voldemort. Tom recalled him, gleefully placing himself in some hidden spot, murmuring triumphantly that he'd evaded death entirely, then departing, leaving only that silhouette behind. Yes, he was a fragment of Voldemort's soul, stripped off and crafted into a Horcrux. As long as Voldemort endured, he could never die. No one could ever kill him. Ha ha. Tom attempted to chuckle triumphantly, yet realized he felt no joy whatsoever, nor could he emit any sound. Why is this so? Voldemort has transcended death completely. He's immortal. Isn't that right? Why do I feel no elation? Right. The immortal one is me, Voldemort. Not me, this Tom Riddle forever trapped at 16. Yet Tom is me, and Voldemort is me too. Shouldn't we be one and the same? But if we're one, why is it me, outside, who relishes power and strength? While I, this Tom, must remain trapped in perpetual darkness, spending endless lonely days merely asleep. This is unfair. An overwhelming sense of resentment surged, threatening to drive Tom utterly mad. Strange. Why have I never felt this way before? Why did I ever foolishly believe staying imprisoned within a diary was acceptable? We're both Voldemort. Why can't I be the one outside? How laughable. You were defeated by a mere infant. If it were me, that'd never happen. This time, Tom no longer referred to Voldemort as I. Instead, he called him you. Under some potent, unseen influence, Tom's thoughts had subtly shifted, though he remained utterly unaware. Let me out! Tom frantically screamed. The surrounding darkness and silence threatened to break him completely. Odd. Previously, this silence and darkness never bothered me. How did I endure them? And why am I here? Remaining in this horrid darkness offers me nothing at all. Tom still shrieked silently. No sound could escape, nor would anyone ever hear him. Just as Tom teetered on the edge of despair, a beam of light illuminated him, and he saw a familiar face. That face wore a deeply sorrowful expression. Tom, why do you no longer respond to me? Have you vanished entirely? Wasn't it said that offering a living soul would let you endure longer? Chapter 203. This Tom is becoming increasingly strange. Xiaoji looked dejected as he took out the diary, then grabbed a pen and wrote in it. Tom, are you still there? It's been months now. Why haven't you responded to me at all? I'm here, Xiaoji. I seem to have fallen into a deep slumber before. Upon seeing the reply in the diary, Xiaoji's expression shifted from shock to joy, and finally to sheer elation. I thought you'd vanished for good.
Tom.
I'm so glad you're still here. Why did you put me back inside the box? Tom sounded somewhat upset. You never responded to me before. I feared someone else might find you, so I put you back. But for the past few months, I've been checking on you daily. And today, when I opened it, I saw you'd awakened. Xiaoji wrote excitedly. As long as you're still here, I won't lock you in a box ever again. Thank you, Xiaoji. I truly dislike being trapped in darkness. Initially, Tom had intended to abandon Xiaji, viewing him merely as a clumsy, talentless fool. Yet upon hearing that Xiaji wouldn't confine him anymore, Tom unexpectedly felt a surge of gratitude. For some reason, he found himself developing a sense of closeness toward this honest little wizard, a feeling he'd never experienced before. Still, Tom saw nothing unusual about this. He simply assumed it was a natural emotional reaction after being freed from darkness by Xiaji. Well, that chicken you brought me back then was incredibly beneficial. Tom recalled the rooster Xiaji had sacrificed to him. Such roosters possessed immense vitality and astonishingly powerful spiritual energy.
Ah,
I dare not steal any more of Hagrid's chickens. Last time, I only sacrificed one, yet you still slept for months. Wait, I was asleep for months? Tom finally realized this fact. He carefully assessed his own soul's strength and immediately noticed it had indeed stabilized considerably. Yet he still couldn't fully manifest physically. He felt he was just a little short of that. Tom remained patient. He intended to use Xiaji to help him resurrect, but this time, not for Voldemort's sake, but for himself. Xiaji, can you take me to class today? I haven't seen Hogwarts in ages, and my soul's current state is far more stable now. My perception range has expanded too. Of course. Tom, my next class is potions. I can bring you along. Oh, Tom, do you have any idea how I've been coping these past few months?
Tom.
Snape is downright hateful. Xiaji exclaimed emotionally, pouring out his grievances to Tom. I'll help you, Xiaji. Wonderful. It's getting late now, let's head to potions class at once. Understood, Tom replied. Maintaining his composed expression, Xiaji snapped his fingers behind his back. Instantly, the diary shut with a soft click. Only then did Xiaji's tense expression relax. With disdain, he tossed the diary back into the box and resealed it. Of course, he wouldn't bring the diary around openly, otherwise, his reputation as a universally loathed fool would crumble instantly. After all, who's surrounded by two lovely girls at all times. Tom's soul had been subtly manipulated by Xiaji. Though confined inside the box, he sensed nothing amiss, as he'd now been plunged into a custom-crafted dreamscape orchestrated by Xiaji. Within this dream, Tom wasn't locked away at all. He was accompanying a sorrowful-looking Xiaji towards Snape's dreaded potions classroom. In this dreamscape, Xiaji perfectly mirrored Neville Longbottom down to the smallest detail. Everyone at Hogwarts knew just how miserable Neville's experiences in potions were. And thanks to Xiaji's alterations, Tom had begun to act quite strangely. The more wretched Xiaji appeared in his dreams, the higher Tom's affection for him climbed. Xiaji stowed the box away, then retrieved a scroll and jotted down a potion's formula, the exact same one residing in Tom's mind. The moment Tom awakened, Xiaji had already extracted every secret hidden within his thoughts. Moreover, Xiaji had been continuously influencing Tom's soul, instilling within him doubts about his own true nature, an impossibility for a Horcrux like Tom. After all, Tom was Voldemort. Voldemort was Tom. How could he possibly resent himself? Yet Xiaji had managed to awaken within Tom a trace of independent consciousness belonging solely to 16-year-old Tom, a trait utterly impossible for a Horcrux to possess.
Ding.
Host successfully obtained Tom's potions formula. Congratulations, you've earned the Super Enhanced Blood Fusion Potion Formula. Suddenly, a potion's formula materialized in Xiaji's mind. He drew another scroll and transcribed the system-provided formula. He then placed both formulas side by side for comparison. Upon finishing, Xiaji smacked his lips and promptly incinerated Voldemort's formula. Compared to the system's version, Voldemort's recipe was utter trash. This formula carried severe side effects, though it granted immense magical power boosts and even bestowed certain magical creature abilities. It inevitably induced near-irreversible physical transformations toward those creatures in the user. This explained why, despite multiple modifications, Voldemort still endured horrifying bodily mutations over time, eventually morphing into his grotesque final form. The system's formula, though similar to Tom's version, required twice as many ingredients. though many of these remained rather difficult to procure. Yet none of this posed any challenge to Xiaji. Scarcity merely meant insufficient galleons. And to someone possessing a philosopher's stone, galleons held no real difficulty whatsoever. Yasairi.
Boom.
Yasairi materialized beside Xiaji, affectionately nuzzling his arm. Xiaji hadn't seen her in quite some time. Deliver a message to Dabi for me. Xiaji handed Yasairi a scroll and a pouch of coins. Yasairi chirped twice in response. All right, I'll definitely visit at Christmas. Xiaji affectionately stroked Yasairi's head.
Boom.
Yasairi vanished instantly. Ordinary materials? Dabi could procure those easily. Material vendors rarely dared slight house elves, since not every wizarding household owned one. Every house elf represented a wealthy ancient wizarding lineage, an unbreakable rule. Thus, each elven visitor meant a lucrative business opportunity. Dabi wouldn't face any difficulties whatsoever. He'd be treated with utmost respect. Once all materials gathered, Xiaji would swiftly brew this blood fusion potion. He intended to incorporate Yasairi's blood. If he could even gain access to some of her innate abilities, that'd be ideal. Xiaji fully grasped just how absurdly powerful a phoenix's abilities could be. Merely its capacity to rebirth from flames upon death alone would drive Voldemort to envy. From then on, Xiaji conversed with Tom almost daily. Snape's utterly cruel. I'd perfectly brewed the potion, yet he deducted points from me, claiming it was too dilute. Xiaji vented bitterly. He's deliberately targeting you. Xiaji, did you ever offend him previously? I believe he's using me as a means to dock Gryffindor points.
See?
None of the other professors single me out like this. Tom concurred. Indeed, today Professor McGonagall even awarded you extra points for progress, yet Snape deducted them. Truly baffling. Do you recognize Snape? He was once a student at Hogwarts, too. I don't recall him. He likely enrolled after my time. I've existed for ages. Still, even back then, he'd been universally detested. Tom replied indifferently. By the way, did you notice those two girls today? Xiaji wrote excitedly. Of course. I saw them. Do you like them? Joking. Who wouldn't adore pretty girls? True enough. Yet I've never focused much on such matters before. No way, Tom. You're so handsome, yet never dated anyone? Women only impede my pursuit of knowledge. Wait, could you possibly be?
What?
Oh, what are you implying? I loathe men.
Ah.
I truly wish to pursue them. Xiaji, you're merely a second year. But what if someone else beats me to it? I still believe early romance is ill-advised now. Mastering magic remains the world's greatest joy. Tom, I firmly believe these two pursuits aren't mutually exclusive. Very well. I'd suggest targeting that blonde girl. She seems proud, yet such types are easiest to charm. Plus, her lineage greatly benefit you.
Oh.
Tom, how do you know all this? You've never dated either. For me, first-hand experience is unnecessary to grasp such matters. All right, I'll rely on you then, Tom. But first, today's homework. You should attempt it yourself. I can only assist partially. True strength demands your own effort. Don't forget, you seek Cassandra Vole's affection. Only by surpassing her can you win her heart. You're quite handsome yourself, Xiaji. Surpass her and she'll fall for you effortlessly. Really? When have I ever lied to you? Unbeknownst to Tom, his attitude towards Xiaji had gradually shifted profoundly. Initially, he'd viewed Xiaji purely as a tool to exploit. Now, however, he'd begun genuinely valuing him. He now shared complaints about Snape's grim demeanor with Xiaji, lusted after those lovely girls alongside him, and even collaborated on homework. Tom himself hadn't noticed this transformation whatsoever. He'd quietly begun regarding Xiaji as a friend. Tom had never possessed true friends, Voldemort least of all. Such a notion had been utterly inconceivable before. Deep down, Tom's world had always revolved solely around himself. How could anyone else possibly matter? Yet now, subtly influenced by Xiaji, Tom had grown increasingly unlike his former self. Chapter 204. Tom Siaji is my friend. Siaji hypnotized Tom once again, then placed him back into the wooden box. Tom played a crucial role in his plans, so Siaji decided he'd have to devote extra effort to him. After stowing the box away, Siaji lay back down on his bed. Despite all the magical wonders this world had to offer, there were very few actual forms of entertainment. At the moment, his only options were 2 Slytherin-written manuscripts he could treat as storybooks, though these past few days hadn't been entirely fruitless for him. At the very least, within a notebook bound in black leather, he'd found instructions on how to raise a basilisk, as well as a method to temporarily seal away the lethal curses affecting its eyes. The process of hatching a basilisk was surprisingly simple. All one needed was a toad to incubate a chicken egg. Once hatched, it would become a basilisk. Siaji wondered how the first person to ever hatch a basilisk, that Greek black wizard, the despicable Herpo, had managed to figure this out. Just how idle must one be to think of using a toad to hatch a chicken egg? What fascinated Siaji the most, though, was the description of those chicken eggs. Could chickens actually lay eggs? Yet, despite flipping through the manuscript repeatedly, he found no further mention of chicken eggs whatsoever. He truly had no idea how such eggs even came to exist. Perhaps chicken eggs had once been a common magical ingredient, which was why Slytherin hadn't bothered to document them in detail. But now, the method of producing them had seemingly been lost to time.
It was genuinely a shame.
Siaji set the manuscript down, sighing regretfully. Had he known how to produce chicken eggs, he could have hatched his own basilisk. Still, suppose one were to administer to a chicken that same gender-altering potion Harry had consumed. Would the resulting hen then lay eggs? And if so, would those eggs truly count as chicken eggs? At this point, Siaji's train of thought took a wildly inappropriate turn. He began pondering. Could Harry serve as both father and mother? Should Harry grow up, and if he chose never to marry, yet still wished to pass on his seeds to a transformed version of himself, a female Harry, would she then be able to conceive a child? Blast! Siaji hurriedly cut off those horrifying thoughts. The idea of oneself becoming one's own parent was utterly unacceptable, at least it ought to be. Nevertheless, the experiment of turning a rooster into a hen capable of laying eggs seemed entirely worth trying. Meanwhile, in a nearby dormitory, Harry suddenly shivered violently. An inexplicable chill washed over him. Dobby was a highly capable and intelligent house elf. Upon receiving a letter from Siaji, he wasted no time and hurried off to Diagon Alley. Purchasing items for his master in Diagon Alley was something Dobby had considerable experience with. After all, Lucius Malfoy wasn't exactly a respectable individual, and he often dragged Dobby along when shopping there. Dobby recognized many of those vendors peddling all sorts of peculiar magical ingredients. Thus, it wasn't long before Siaji received a sizable package containing various materials. Thanks to Dobby's relentless bargaining skills, he even managed to save Siaji a staggering 5,000 galleons. Overjoyed, Siaji promptly increased Dobby's wages and bonuses, gifting him a gleaming golden name tag adorned with exquisite engravings. Dobby's name shone brightly upon it. Dobby joyfully pinned this golden tag onto his otherwise neat little suit. Thanks to Dobby's efficiency, Siaji had now gathered most of the necessary materials. Only a few remained, and they were so rare that they practically didn't exist on the open market. Thus, Siaji approached Snape, requesting his assistance as a master potion maker in procuring those final ingredients. Snape readily agreed to this request. Siaji noticed that Snape now wore the ring he'd left behind. Though he'd rendered it invisible, the conditions he'd set forth essentially amounted to a blank check. Clearly, Snape found it impossible to refuse. Winter was gradually setting in, and heavy snowfall transformed the entire Hogwarts campus into a vast expanse of white. Siaji had never cared for this bitter cold. Though it no longer posed any threat to him, it did rob the world of much of its vibrant beauty whenever everyone donned thick layers of clothing. Despite the chill within his dormitory, Siaji remained comfortably warm. He thoroughly enjoyed this particular warmth-inducing spell. He retrieved the wooden box containing Tom and instantly altered his expression. All traces of his usual sharpness and confidence vanished. Now, anyone witnessing him would see nothing more than a timid, meek individual. Tom, Christmas is approaching soon. Is there anything you'd like as a gift? In my current state, I won't be receiving any gifts, Xiaji. Shall I go capture a chicken from Hagrid for you? No need. I'd rather not have one from Hagrid. Tom reflected that absorbing a chicken's soul had indeed benefited him greatly, but it also left him in a deep slumber afterward. He had no desire to once again awaken to find nothing but darkness and silence surrounding him. These past days, though, he'd experienced a joy he hadn't felt in ages, a feeling utterly unlike his previous existence steeped in solitude and darkness. True, Xiaji was foolish, greedy, and utterly incompetent, yet he treated Tom with genuine kindness. At least now, Tom no longer felt lonely. Very well, I'll go fetch a rabbit from the edge of the Forbidden Forest instead, Xiaji wrote. And you, Tom? What gift would you like for Christmas? Me? You know very well, Tom. No one ever gives me gifts. I'm an orphan, and I have no friends. Xiaji's demeanor turned melancholic. Tom suddenly felt a pang of sorrow. Xiaji shared his own origins, yet their fates diverged completely. Tom had possessed immense talent and was universally adored. At Hogwarts, he'd amassed countless friends. Xiaji, however, had grown up an orphan, unloved and friendless. It pained Tom to realize that on Christmas Day, Xiaji wouldn't receive a single gift. Then, I shall give you a Christmas gift, Tom suddenly wrote. That's unnecessary, Tom. I've grown accustomed to it. Besides, you're merely a fragment of memory. How could you possibly give me anything? I know of a truly fascinating place. I'm certain you'll be utterly astonished upon visiting it. Where is it? On the 8th floor of the main school building, opposite a tapestry depicting a troll beating up a bludger. There's a wall there. Tom recounted to Xiaji his discovery of the Room of Requirement. Simply walk past it thrice while asking for a place to hide things, and a door will appear. Within lie countless treasures hidden there by Hogwarts students over the years. I'm sure you'll find many intriguing items there. That sounds wonderful. Such an intriguing place. This will be my very first Christmas gift ever. Though Xiaji already knew of the Room of Requirement, he feigned great excitement and delight. Your first? I seem to recall. No, Tom. That's entirely different. This is my first gift received from a friend. Friend. Tom appeared puzzled. This word he'd once scorned now evoked a warm sensation within him. You're my first friend, my best friend, Xiaji.
Ooh.
You too, Tom. Tom hesitated. He no longer knew whether this reply was mere politeness or genuine feeling. It was peculiar. Why had he become so strange? Why did he feel no resistance to being regarded as a friend by this foolish boy? Why did it even bring him joy? This was wrong. He was acting completely out of character. Tom abruptly jolted awake. I am Tom Riddle.
No.
I am Voldemort. I am the true Voldemort, and Voldemort needs no friends. Yet, I am also Tom, a fragmented soul trapped within a diary. Tom was profoundly lonely. Tom truly craved friendship. And why shouldn't Tom have friends? Who decreed he couldn't? Very well, from this moment onward, Xiaji is my friend, Tom Riddle's friend. Xiaji is foolish, not very intelligent, irrelevant. As Tom, I need no exceptionally brilliant friends. No one could ever surpass me in intellect. Tom mused proudly. Tom, regarding that potion formula you gave me earlier. While you were asleep, I've gathered most of its ingredients. Ingredients? Where did you obtain them? You seemed rather penniless. By sheer luck, Tom. Most were found deep within the Forbidden Forest. You personally gathered them from there? Tom appeared astonished. Xiaji struck him as rather timid. To think he'd dared venture into the Forbidden Forest alone? Of course not, Tom. On my own, I wouldn't survive 10 minutes there. Then how did you acquire them? Oh, I often help Hagrid with chores now. He's come to regard me as a friend. Honestly, that big oaf is so gullible. He's also quite fond of Gryffindor students. When I mentioned needing those ingredients, he readily ventured into the Forbidden Forest and gathered them all for me. Well done, Xiaji. You've grown wiser. We truly needn't do everything ourselves. We can always find others to aid us in achieving our goals. Tom spoke with evident approval. This very tactic had been his preferred method in the past. Exactly. Crucially, I'm no longer short on funds. I asked Hagrid for his old cushion. It was filthy, yet he readily agreed to part with it. And what use is his cushion to you? Because it was woven from unicorn hair. Unicorn hair currently fetches 10 galleons per strand. I've struck gold, Tom. That oaf actually possesses such wealth. He himself has no idea just how wealthy he is, Tom. With this money, I'll finally be able to purchase those remaining ingredients absent from the forest. Xiaji wrote excitedly. Indeed. That's excellent. Yet Tom now wrestled with inner turmoil. That potion formula was entirely fraudulent. He'd altered numerous parts of it. Should Xiaji consume it, he'd meet a horrifically tragic end. Initially, Tom had viewed Xiaji purely as a tool. Once he'd opened the Chamber of Secrets, Tom intended to drain his vitality and soul to resurrect himself. He'd never planned to let Xiaji survive. Yet now he hesitated. Using Xiaji, life, to revive the great Voldemort had been his original plan, yet inexplicably, this notion now repulsed him deeply.
Why?
Xiaji was merely a friend. He'd had countless such friends in the past. Shouldn't such friends be utterly inconsequential to him? Wasn't it an honor for Xiaji to sacrifice himself for Voldemort's resurrection? Why, then, did Tom feel such reluctance? He stood utterly bewildered. Chapter 205. Respect my species, please. I do not lay eggs. Could it be that I truly consider Xiaji a friend? Suddenly, Tom realized something. Those so-called friends from the past weren't true friends at all. They were merely tools he'd tried to manipulate and recruit. But Xiaji was his real friend, and there was a fundamental difference between the two. Even now, though Tom remained cruel, aloof, and greedy, he simply couldn't bring himself to be harsh toward Xiaji. Once you've gathered all the materials, let me know. I'll take another careful look, Tom wrote hesitantly. Tom, could you really make a mistake about this?
No,
I just want to see if I can improve the formula. Tom was still wrestling with the dilemma. Should he sacrifice Xiaji's life to resurrect himself? It seemed two vicious little figures were arguing inside his mind. One insisted, for my own sake, everyone else can die. That's only fair. The other retorted, Xiaji is my friend. I can't kill him. That'd leave me lonely again, and that feeling is unbearable. Xiaji, I'm feeling a bit tired now. Let's talk again later. This was the first time Tom had ever taken the initiative to end a conversation. Understood. I'll catch some rabbits for you right away. You mustn't disappear again. That'd make me sad. Don't worry, I won't. Snap. Xiaji snapped his fingers and the notebook closed. Tom was once more pulled by Xiaji into the dream within a dream, where he remained quietly on Xiaji's desk, still deep in conflict. Meanwhile, in reality, Tom was locked back inside his box. This was a good start. It seemed Tom intended to use the pretext of refining the formula to correct any deliberately altered ingredients. Xiaji felt delighted. This proved all his prior efforts hadn't been in vain. He took out a stack of manuscripts and began reading them carefully. Faintly visible on the title page were several blurred words, reconstructing the physical form. Now that Tom's deepest secrets were fully known to Xiaji, it was time to unlock the chamber. Yet before that, Xiaji had another small experiment to conduct. Inside his suitcase, a massive hen gazed at Xiaji with utter resentment. Just days ago, it had been a proud, gallant rooster, handsome enough to charm countless hens. But then this heartless human had forced it to drink a whole cup of some potion, and its body changed. At first, it hadn't noticed anything amiss. It just stopped crowing. Yet when it realized it had laid an egg today, the entire bird was stunned. Only then did it realize what was wrong. It had turned into a hen. This tragic fate made it question the very meaning of its existence. Xiaoji eagerly picked up the egg. If a rooster turned into a hen via potion, would it then lay a rooster's egg? He checked via the system panel, his eyes lit up with delight. Yet this experiment had still failed. The system confirmed it was indeed a rooster's egg, but one that was unfertilized, completely incapable of hatching. Still, this indirectly validated Xiaoji's theory. A transformed rooster produced rooster's eggs. In other words, the potion merely induced gender transformation. That was its sole effect. Just as when Harry turned into Harriet, his biology became entirely female, yet a blood test would still reveal male DNA. Magic truly was wondrous, Xiaoji mused. Given this, if he wanted a fertilized rooster's egg, Xiaoji glanced at the hen and let out a sinister chuckle. Haha. Terrified, the hen watched him. This was the same grin it had seen days ago before it turned into a hen. What was he planning now? Xiaoji reached into his bag and pulled out a vibrant, spirited rooster. Suddenly, the hen grasped what he intended. No! 2 days later, both the rooster and the hen lay listlessly on one side, utterly exhausted. Xiaoji stood before them, gazing fondly at a rooster's egg 3 times larger than normal. He believed this egg held extraordinary potential. Both the hen and the rooster had been specially bred using phoenix blood feed. Rushing against time, Xiaoji had accelerated their growth with potions, and, thankfully, no side effects arose. This egg would surely surpass even the legendary one Slytherin once possessed. With the egg secured, only one more component remained: a toad. Xiaoji stowed the egg away, then smilingly gave the hen another potion. Under the rooster's watchful gaze, it reverted to a proud rooster, leaving the other rooster utterly dejected. Neville, can I borrow Leaf for a few days? Xiaoji approached Neville. Leaf was Neville's toad. Toads and frogs belonged to the same species. Neville readily agreed, only to return moments later, utterly bewildered. I lost Leaf again. Right. Xiaoji had almost forgotten. Leaf was a toad with an insatiable love for escape and freedom. Leaf, come here. Xiaoji waved his wand, and a large toad promptly flew from Neville's robe. Neville sighed dejectedly. How did I not realize it was still hiding in my pocket? I'll return him soon. What do you need him for? To help me incubate an egg. See you later. Watching Xiaoji depart, Neville felt deep envy. He wished he had such wit. He assumed it was all a joke. Croak. Why will you snatch me from my idiot master? Croak. Please help me incubate an egg. Croak? What's that?
Crook.
Help me incubate an egg. Croak. I'm male. I don't lay eggs. Xiaoji smirked and drew his wand. Croak? Well, maybe I could. Leaf promptly backed down. Back in his suitcase, Xiaoji placed the rooster's egg on a table, then positioned Leaf atop it, blindfolding him. Croak. Just stay there and don't move. Croak. Got it. Though clever, Leaf couldn't fathom how a toad ended up tasked with incubation. 3 full days passed, and Leaf remained steadfast atop the egg. Not out of diligence, Xiaoji had cast a petrification charm before leaving, ensuring Leaf's immobility. Xiaoji's patience wore thin. No sign of hatching. Had his method failed? Yet he persisted, forbidding Cassandra Vole and Hermione from entering the suitcase. Basilisks, even newborns, remained lethal. Xiaoji himself possessed innate danger awareness and Slytherin's wand, granting him immunity to basilisk gaze. Finally, at midnight on the 3rd night, the egg stirred. Rushing over, Xiaoji raised Slytherin's wand, awaiting the moment. Crack, crack, cracks appeared. A tiny life struggled to emerge. Xiaoji swiftly retrieved Leaf. Newborn basilisks remained venomous. He raised Slytherin's wand. Its emerald gem glowed faintly. Crack! The shell shattered, revealing a crimson-scaled serpent with blood-red eyes locking onto Xiaoji. A chill seized him, until warmth radiated from Slytherin's wand, dispelling the dread. Without it, Xiaoji would have perished. This basilisk seemed unlike any other, far stronger and uniquely colored. Emerald green basilisks had golden eyes, but this one was entirely red, even its eyes. And atop its head, two faint protrusions. Perhaps Phoenix blood feed had induced this mutation. Xiaoji waved his wand. The red eyes dimmed to dark crimson. He temporarily sealed its lethal gaze magic. SSSSS. Come, I'll feed you. Obediently, the hatchling climbed onto Xiaoji's palm, radiating warmth. Snakes were cold-blooded, yet this one burned. Only one species shared this trait: fire-scaled serpents. Phoenix blood's influence was profound. Xiaoji produced a vial of unicorn milk blended with phoenix blood, a substance only he could procure. The hatchling's eyes gleamed. It eagerly latched onto the bottle. Within moments, it drained the entire contents. Sated, it nuzzled Xiaoji's fingers, then coiled around his arm, instantly asleep. Chapter 206. Xiaoji, what are your dreams? Xiaoji stroked the snake's head, then pulled his sleeve back down to conceal the little creature. He took out the completely stiff leaf and undid the petrification spell affecting it. Instantly, leaf went limp, collapsing into Xiaoji's palm. Croak, croak. I feel like all the energy's been drained from my body. Croak, gurgle. You've worked hard. This is your reward. Xiaoji pinched Leaf's mouth and poured a potion into it. Croak, croak. What is this? I feel absolutely wonderful now. I'm back to full health. Croak, gurgle. I'll return you to your master now. Next time, don't hide from him so often. Neville gets quite anxious whenever he can't find you. Croak, croak, anxious? I thought he was enjoying our game of hide-and-seek. Xiaoji handed Leaf back to Neville Longbottom. Neville didn't seem to mind at all that Xiaoji had borrowed Leaf for several days. In truth, even without Xiaoji taking him, Leaf often disappeared for days at a time, so Neville had grown quite accustomed to it. Xiaoji. Cassandra Vole crossed her arms and stared at him. What have you been doing these past few days? Your dormitory door's been locked, and your trunk too. If it weren't for the fact that you've been attending classes daily, I'd have gone to Professor McGonagall by now, Hermione added, carrying a thick book. These days, this is the first time I've seen you appear in the common room. Oh, I've been doing something. Noticing the numerous curious, gossip-laden gazes directed at him, Xiaoji quickly trailed off. Xiaoji led Cassandra and Hermione to a secluded corner of the common room. Actually, these past few days, I've been incubating an egg. Incubating an egg? Are you referring to those chickens you keep? Hermione eyed Xiaoji suspiciously, unable to understand why he'd raised chickens out of nowhere. Raising them for meat would make some sense, but neither of them had ever seen Xiaoji slaughter a chicken. He never did anything pointless. Xiaoji raised his hand and cast a spell around them, blocking any sounds from escaping. I did something quite interesting, yet extremely dangerous. Dangerous? Cassandra's eyes narrowed slightly, gleaming with a hint of danger. I believe I've told you before. Actually, it wasn't dangerous at all for me, but it would be very dangerous for you all, which is why I didn't call you guys. What's so dangerous about incubating an egg? Hermione remained puzzled. I borrowed Leaf from Neville to help me incubate the egg. But Leaf's a toad. Hermione grew even more curious. Toads incubating eggs. As far as I know, there's only one scenario where that happens. True to her lineage, Cassandra knew a bit of everything. Don't tell me, you're secretly hatching a basilisk? What's a basilisk? Hermione had never encountered any records about such a creature. A basilisk is an extremely dangerous dark creature. Anyone who makes eye contact with it is guaranteed to die. Plus, its venom is incredibly toxic. Cassandra spoke solemnly. Oh. Xiaoji, don't tell me you've been hatching a basilisk these past few days and succeeded at that. Hermione gazed at Xiaoji fearfully. From Cassandra's words, it was clear just how terrifying a basilisk truly was. I succeeded. Xiaoji nodded indifferently. Hermione clamped her hand over her mouth, staring at him in disbelief. Such a dangerous creature. You could have easily gotten hurt. And if anyone found out you'd raised a basilisk, he'd spend the rest of his life in Azkaban. Cassandra declared coldly. Even before deciding to tell them about the basilisk, Xiaoji had anticipated such reactions, yet he had no intention of keeping it a secret. Relax. The Slytherin manuscripts detail everything related to basilisks, and Slytherin himself left one right here at Hogwarts. Xiaoji produced a stack of scrolls and handed them over. Most importantly, basilisks obey only Parseltongue commands. Moreover, I've already used Slytherin's methods to seal away the basilisk's dark magic. Hermione still looked deeply worried. Raising a basilisk at Hogwarts seemed akin to carrying a time bomb. Utterly unsafe. May I take a look? At the basilisk? Cassandra suddenly spoke up. Cassandra. Hermione stared at her in shock. She'd assumed Cassandra would share her concerns and try to dissuade Xiaoji from keeping a basilisk. Of course, follow me. Xiaoji stood, dispelled the surrounding spell, and headed toward his dormitory. All three entered his trunk, where Cassandra and Hermione beheld two roosters gazing at each other in silence, tears streaming down their faces. Oh, don't mind them. Incubating a basilisk requires rooster eggs, so I had to resort to a few special measures, Xiaoji spoke vaguely. Inside the small chamber, Cassandra noticed shattered eggshells on a table. Xiaoji invited them to sit, then before their eyes, pulled back his sleeve. A tiny, completely red, translucent serpent appeared before them. The little basilisk was still fast asleep. It was still a baby, and babies certainly needed plenty of rest. Is this a basilisk? It's truly beautiful. Cassandra finished Hermione's interrupted sentence. Indeed, they'd only ever heard of basilisks as monstrous and terrifying, yet this one was so petite and lovely, even adorable. Basilisks are indeed fearsome creatures. Adult ones certainly aren't adorable or beautiful. Xiaoji lowered his sleeve. Mine's just a bit unique. It's undergone a mutation. I want to know, why did you hatch a basilisk? I refuse to believe it was merely for fun. Cassandra fixed Xiaoji with a piercing gaze. Exactly. Such creatures are terrifying. If they ever got out of control, the consequences would be dire. Why did you raise one? Xiaoji didn't answer directly. Instead, he calmly sat down and poured each of them a cup of honey lemonade. What are your dreams? Or rather, what do you hope to accomplish after graduating from Hogwarts? Xiaoji sat on the sofa, his pitch-black eyes gazing warmly at the two girls before him. Dreams. Truthfully, neither Hermione nor Cassandra had ever given this much thought. They were still quite young and hadn't truly reflected on such matters. Thus, both fell silent, instinctively lifting their drinks and sipping gently. After graduation, the most likely paths. Hermione, you'll probably join the Ministry of Magic. And Cassandra, you'll likely return home to inherit your family's legacy. Xiaoji interrupted their thoughts. Upon hearing this, both girls fell deep into thought and agreed that his predictions seemed highly probable. They realized these paths might indeed be the best fits for them. Undoubtedly, these are the most suitable paths for you both. Yet, with all due respect, you're choosing them purely out of necessity. But what are your true dreams? What do you truly desire? Xiaoji's voice seemed to possess some sort of enchanting magic, like whispers from a devil. Both girls once again fell deep into contemplation. Oh, I definitely don't want to return and inherit my parents' business. It'd be dreadfully dull. Cassandra frowned. I'll probably join ministry too. And there, I'll finally be able to help those weaker groups. Hermione still harbored deep sympathy for house elves and others living at the bottom rung of society. Strictly speaking, neither had any grand dreams or specific aspirations. There were so few job opportunities in the wizarding world, and its development had practically stagnated over centuries. There was simply nothing exciting about it. And you? What's your dream? Hermione suddenly asked.
Mine?
My dream's quite simple. I want every wizard on this planet to walk freely under the sunlight. I want wizards and muggles, no. I want all humanity to progress together, to advance as one. Had Professor Dumbledore heard the first half of this speech, he'd undoubtedly have locked Xiaoji away in Nurmengard alongside someone else. You intend to break the International Statute of Secrecy and follow Grindelwald's path? Cassandra furrowed her brows. Grindelwald? No, his ideology's one-sided. He believed wizards stood above everyone else and deserved to rule muggles. That's unquestionably wrong. Xiaji spoke earnestly. Then, what's your vision? Cassandra, you hail from a wizarding family, so you mightn't fully grasp just how rapidly muggles are progressing. Compared to muggle society's lightning-fast evolution, the wizarding world's development has practically halted for centuries. But what does that matter, as long as they never discover us? No, Cassandra. At their current rate of progress, they'll eventually uncover us. When Muggle technology surpasses our magic and drives us out of our hidden holes, what do you think will happen? Cassandra fell silent briefly, then slowly replied, at that point, powerful wizards might still hide, but the weaker ones.
Exactly.
If every wizard equaled Professor Dumbledore in strength, I wouldn't worry at all. Yet the truth is, many wizards aren't skilled fighters. Thus, we must collaborate with Muggles while we still hold any value to them, and integrate ourselves into their progress.
Xiaji stood.
When Muggle technology begins incorporating traces of magic, they'll become utterly dependent on us. Once they rely on us, wizards won't remain some special, isolated group. We'll simply become a profession, just like lawyers or doctors. Can you imagine it? A future where magic and technology coexist harmoniously. Yet achieving this demands immense power. Cassandra gazed at Xiaji with dawning comprehension. That's why you risked hatching a basilisk, Xiaji nodded. That is my dream. It may seem unrealistic, even overly pessimistic. After all, it could be centuries before Muggles develop technology capable of detecting our magic, and by then, I might no longer be alive. I'm in. Cassandra abruptly interrupted him. Xiaji stared at her in mild surprise. He'd known she'd join, but hadn't expected her resolve to be so swift. This is far more exciting than meekly returning home to inherit my family's legacy, isn't it? Cassandra's eyes shone with an unmistakable spark. Chapter 207. Magic Love Lesson with Voldemort. On that day, Muggles and wizards will finally coexist in peace. There'll be no more contempt between them and no more insulting terms like mudblood, right? Hermione gazed at Xiaji with utmost sincerity. Discrimination exists everywhere. It's nearly impossible to eradicate completely, Hermione. But should that day ever come, we can toss all those troublemakers into Azkaban for some serious reflection. Xiaji replied with a smile. Tossing all those rascals into Azkaban.
Count us in.
Though, you have to pay us wages, right? Suddenly, Hermione flashed a mischievous grin. Of course. But you've given me an idea, Hermione. I believe we should first establish a company, one that showcases just how fascinating and useful the synergy between magic and technology can be. Tangible benefits speak louder than any eloquent rhetoric. Xiaji stroked his smooth chin thoughtfully. There's absolutely no need to rush, Xiaji. Cassandra chuckled. Don't forget, you're only in your second year. Ah, true enough. You've reminded me. I still need someone influential to serve as the company's legal representative. At present, that's impossible. Who'd believe anything a mere child says? Xiaji wore a knowing smile. His plan was to set up a company first, then recruit talented individuals into its ranks. In any case, before undertaking any grand endeavor, it's always wise to rally all possible allies. So, who possesses the greatest allure? Or rather, who exudes the most magnetic charisma? Perhaps it'd be best to let an old acquaintance make a reappearance? Xiaji figured there was no need to rush. Better to fully exploit Voldemort's utility first. At last, Tom Riddle's inner turmoil resolved itself, quite simply at that. He desired resurrection, yet refused to sacrifice Xiaji. Hence, he'd simply need someone else to take Xiaji's place. What did the lives of strangers matter to Tom Riddle and his friend Xiaji? Yet Tom had no intention of sacrificing other students either. Their deaths might prompt Hogwarts closure, forcing Xiaji back to that dreaded orphanage. Tom wouldn't allow such a fate for his friend. After all, Xiaoji currently lacked a Hagrid-like figure to shield him from blame. Xiaoji, cease gathering those ingredients for the recipe for now. I've realized it can still be improved, Tom wrote during their conversation. Improved? That's wonderful news.
Exactly.
Set it aside for now. Once I've perfected it, you can collect the materials. Strengthening your abilities can't be rushed. I'll assist you. Tom reasoned that such aid would ensure Xiaoji reciprocated in kind later on. Xiaoji felt elated. Tom now fully trusted him. At least, he no longer seemed intent on killing him. Post-Christmas, I'll take you somewhere. Until then, I must accumulate some power, Tom wrote. Understood. In the meantime, I'll catch plenty of rabbits for you. Thank you, Xiaoji. That place demands considerable power to access. This time, Tom spoke truthfully. Entering the Chamber of Secrets required Parseltongue. Without it, the door remained sealed. Tom needed ample power to temporarily inhabit Xiaoji's body and speak in Parseltongue to unlock it. And the gift I asked you to prepare, have you finished it? Tom continued. Oh, yes, but are you certain Cassandra will like it? Won't she reject me outright? Well, under my guidance, your academic prowess now matches hers. Combined with this gift, she definitely won't reject me? No, she absolutely will. Huh? But you're overthinking this, Xiaoji. Her first refusal is inevitable, yet it'll leave a lasting impression. Courting a girl is akin to slowly boiling a frog in warm water. Thereafter, Tom meticulously instructed Xiaoji on winning a girl's affection. Xiaoji stifled his urge to burst into laughter. Voldemort, who never dated, earnestly teaching him romance tactics? Utterly absurd. Yet soon, Xiaoji assumed a grave expression. Oh, I see now. You're truly brilliant, Tom. Turns out, Voldemort, devoid of romantic experience, possessed far greater emotional intelligence than this straight-laced blockhead. Reflecting on Tom's advice, Xiaoji recalled how his past self had missed out on at least 10 wonderful girls. Regretful memories indeed. Could such innate talent truly exist? Tom's claim of charming everyone at Hogwarts wasn't mere boasting. Back then, save for Dumbledore, who didn't adore him. Through prolonged interaction, Tom discerned Xiaoji's strengths. He wasn't as inept as initially presumed. Xiaoji lacked magical aptitude, yet excelled intellectually. He grasped concepts instantly and matched top students like Cassandra academically. His earlier timidity stemmed solely from perceived magical inferiority. Tom concluded that enhancing Xiaoji's magical prowess would let him achieve nearly 80% of his own accomplishments. Prideful as ever, Tom now esteemed Xiaoji as a worthy companion. Tom, I've followed your instructions precisely. Excellent. I trust you've made a strong impression. Patience now, this may take time, but Tom hadn't finished penning his words. Suddenly, Xiaoji's door slammed open. Cassandra strode in, displeased. Weren't we heading to the library? How long must I wait? Xiaoji swiftly shut his diary. I'm coming at once. He forgot to lock the door, though, admittedly, he did so on purpose. Perfect timing, Cassandra. Tom fell speechless upon Cassandra's entrance. He'd just advised gradual progress, yet here she was, familiar and unhesitant. How could this progress so swiftly? Impossible. Had he miscalculated? Nonsense. Tom Riddle never erred. Xiaoji, may I borrow your potions notes? Hermione entered next. Of course. Let's head to the library now. Xiaoji discreetly pocketed the diary. Tom was baffled anew. How did this transpire? His strategies shouldn't bear fruit so fast, nor apply to multiple girls. At the library, Xiaoji and Cassandra seated themselves together. Tom silently inscribed. Did you know them beforehand? Not at all. Yet yesterday you gave me guidance. Cassandra's understandable. I misjudged her character. But why is this girl equally close to you? Because I gifted her the same present.
What?
I only instructed you on wooing Cassandra. True, yet I prepared an identical gift for her. Tom now revered him. This man wanted more than one admirer. I still believe you're too greedy. Fidelity's preferable. Good heavens, Voldemort advising monogamy? Xiaji nearly snorted. You yourself said we must first befriend girls before advancing further. Indeed, yet isn't excess detrimental? Tom, I lack self-confidence. Casting a wide net's wiser. Tom fell utterly speechless. Still, he acknowledged Xiaji's prowess. Once his timidity vanished, he transformed into a relentless predator. Greedy, bold, and unyielding. Xiaji mirrors me perfectly. Well, minus the cowardice. Tom resolved to forge an unbreakable bond. He sensed Xiaji'd prove invaluable later. As Tom mused, he noticed a tiny crimson serpent slither down Xiaji's wrist. This aura, though differing in form, this was unmistakably a basilisk. Good heavens, where'd Xiaji procure a basilisk? He'd perish under its gaze. Yet he remained unharmed? Tom stood stunned. Hiss, Little Red, retreat now. This is the library. You can't be seen. Rest a while. I'll bring treats later. If Tom's earlier shock was mild, this was sheer catastrophe. Xiaji had just conversed with a basilisk. He spoke Parseltongue. Hence, he commanded it. Yet this defied logic. Parseltongue was an inherited Slytherin trait, exclusive to noble descendants. How did Xiaji possess it? Was he a Slytherin heir? But no, Xiaji bore distinct Eastern features. Impossible. Still, Slytherin lived millennia past. Perhaps his lineage endured in the East. Alternatively, the ancient Greek dark wizard Herpo also wielded Parseltongue, so Tom couldn't confirm Xiaji's lineage definitively. Xiaji, did you just speak to a snake? Why never mention this ability? Tom couldn't resist probing. Chapter 208. Xiaji, I reveal my true identity. I'm done pretending I am the main villain. Tom, what's the matter? This seems like a very common ability. I bet every young wizard here can do it, which is why I didn't mention it to you. No, Xiaji, you simply don't get it. Parseltongue is an incredibly rare and magnificent talent. Only true descendants of Slytherin can speak to snakes. No one else has that ability. But how could I possibly be a descendant of Slytherin? Well, I have no idea either. Tom himself was utterly baffled. He couldn't comprehend what was happening. Why could Xiaji speak Parseltongue? Can you tell me where this snake came from? Yesterday, when I went to the Forbidden Forest to catch rabbits for you, I encountered it. I spoke to it, and we chatted. Then it followed me back. Is there something wrong with it? It was indeed strange. This was clearly a baby basilisk. Yet its eyes held no lethal power whatsoever. Tom was completely perplexed. Today, Tom had received far too many unexpected revelations. Not only did Xiaji possess this rare talent, but he'd also found a baby basilisk. I think it'd be best if no one else sees this little snake, especially not Dumbledore. Tom earnestly warned Xiaji. Keeping a basilisk at Hogwarts? If discovered, he'd be in serious trouble if not dead. Ultimately, Tom decided not to dwell on it. Xiaji assumed everyone could speak Parseltongue, so naturally he hadn't mentioned his own ability. That explanation made perfect sense. As for the baby basilisk, snakes naturally feel drawn to wizards with Parseltongue abilities. It was only natural it had latched onto Xiaji. The only thing still baffling Tom was why the magical effect of the basilisk's eyes had failed to activate. Basilisks couldn't simply appear on their own. So, who had hatched it? Understood, Tom. Since you say so, I'll ensure no one else sees Little Red. I'll also keep my ability to speak Parseltongue a secret. Xiaji wrote this down very seriously. Excellent. The common folk hold many prejudices against Parseltongue. Few truly understand how noble this gift is. We? Do you mean? Yes, Xiaji. I won't hide it any longer. I too speak Parseltongue, and I'm a true descendant of Slytherin. Oh, Xiaji feigned shock at this revelation. If only your magical aptitude were better, you'd definitely be sorted into Slytherin. Tom expressed genuine indignation on Xiaji's behalf. Xiaji wrote despondently, "There's nothing I can do. My abilities just aren't up to par. We'll find a solution. Once I perfect that potion, your magical power will increase dramatically. Besides, you're only in second year now. Even without any effort, your power will naturally grow as you age. Tom comforted him earnestly. Thank you, Tom. Since you possess Parseltongue, I can now take you to a very special place, a location filled with invaluable magical knowledge. What place is that? It's the Chamber of Secrets, built by my ancestor Salazar Slytherin, one of Hogwarts' 4 founders and the greatest wizard of all. The Chamber of Secrets. Xiaoji's eyes instantly lit up. Accessing it requires Parseltongue, which you have. So, we can enter right now. Tom was quite pleased with Xiaoji's reaction. Remember, once inside, you must follow every step I outline, or you'll be in grave danger. Tom worried that Xiaoji might accidentally release the basilisk. Even a single glance from it would be fatal. He planned never to unleash it until he'd fully resurrected. Oh, okay. I understand. Thereafter, Xiaoji closed his diary and joined Cassandra and the others in doing homework. This was the first time Tom hadn't remained trapped in his spirit realm. He'd spent an entire day outside. He'd long noticed that strange alchemical device atop the librarian's desk. Back when he'd still been at Hogwarts, it hadn't been there at all. Seeing Xiaoji and Cassandra interacting amicably, Tom felt immense pride. All this progress was thanks to him. Just as expected, at midnight, under the cover of darkness, a figure silently slipped into the Gryffindor common room. Xiaoji, diary in hand, crept out stealthily and headed in the direction Tom had instructed. This was the first time he'd gone on a nocturnal adventure without casting an invisibility charm. Though inwardly utterly calm, he deliberately feigned nervousness. Without any concealment charm, Filch and his cat stood no chance of spotting Xiaoji. Even at their closest approach, Xiaoji simply crouched down to tie his shoelace, allowing Filch to stroll past completely oblivious. That quick crouch had perfectly averted any encounter. Xiaoji moved so naturally that Tom never suspected a thing. He slipped into a certain girl's lavatory on the 3rd floor of the castle. Upon entering, he heard moaning Myrtle weeping within one of the stalls. Silently, Xiaoji waved his wand. A faint purple beam slipped unseen into that stall. Myrtle's sobs ceased instantly. Xiaoji had hypnotized her using soul magic. Tom paid no mind to this. All his focus remained fixed on the wash basin. Following Tom's instructions, Xiaoji located the faucet engraved with a tiny serpent. SSSSS. Open. With a thunderous boom, the circular basin slowly retracted backward, vanishing entirely to reveal a massive pipe descending into utter darkness, its destination unknown. Without hesitation, Xiaoji leapt into it, sliding down like on a slide. His speed increased steadily. The air grew damper and foul-smelling by the moment. Splosh. At last he reached the bottom, stepping into thick, squishy mud. Grimacing in disgust, he lifted his foot free, cast a Lumos charm to illuminate surroundings, then trudged forward awkwardly. No colossal serpent shed skins awaited him along the way. Not far on, he encountered a solid stone wall etched with 2 intertwined serpents. Their eyes bore large, gleaming emeralds. SSSSS. Open. The serpents parted instantly. The wall split down the middle and slid aside silently. Xiaoji stepped through. This was a narrow chamber, dimly lit and eerie. Numerous stone pillars carved with writhing serpents rose high, supporting a ceiling lost in shadow. Their emerald glow cast long, sinister shadows throughout. Xiaoji surveyed his surroundings, each step echoing hollowly through the gloom. At the chamber's far end, he gazed upward at a statue, a frail, elderly figure. Truly massive, Xiaoji had to crane his neck to see its face. A simian countenance, a sparse beard trailing down to the hem of its stone robes. Was this Slytherin's true appearance, or had years of dark magic warped his features? Much like Tom, the more one labored in the black arts, the uglier one became. Xiaoji drew forth a wand. Not his own, but Slytherin's. Tom watched this with confusion. He had no idea what Xiaoji intended. Tom had told him that between Slytherin's bare feet stood a wall concealing a door. Speaking the same phrase would unlock it, revealing a small chamber holding magical tomes. Though many had been taken by Tom himself, many remained. Suddenly, Xiaji tossed his diary carelessly to the ground. Tom was stunned. What was Xiaji doing? And why did he now wield Slytherin's wand? He'd never seen it before. Such immense magical aura, this wand was immensely powerful. Ignoring Tom frantically scribbling in the diary, Xiaji fixed his gaze on the statue. SSSSS. Speak to me, Slytherin, greatest of Hogwarts founders. Tom was utterly astounded. How was this possible? How did Xiaji know this secret phrase? One capable of awakening a basilisk. Seeing Xiaji still staring unblinkingly at the statue, Tom grew frantic. The diary pages fluttered wildly. Stop at once.
Xiaji, close your eyes.
The basilisk's emerging. Its gaze is fatal. Yet Tom couldn't manifest physically. He couldn't even speak. The colossal stone face of Slytherin moved. Its mouth opened wider and wider, forming a gaping black void. Something stirred within it, rustling softly. Disaster loomed. The basilisk was coming. Xiaji was doomed. Tom's heart turned to ice. Whoosh! An unimaginably massive serpent, its eyes glowing amber, crawled forth from Slytherin's mouth. Its emerald scales shimmered with venomous radiance, its body thicker than an oak tree's trunk. It reared upright, its broad head nearing Xiaji, scrutinizing him intently. Xiaji met its gaze unflinchingly. That familiar chill returned, yet warmth surged from Slytherin's wand, dispelling it completely. SSSSS. Hungry, so hungry, need food. The basilisk raised its head, flicking crimson tongue in agitation. SSSSS. Wait patiently. I'll bring food soon. The creature shuddered, then cowered motionless. Xiaji's Parseltongue reigned supreme. He held ultimate authority now. Even Tom could no longer control it. Tom, sensing all this, was reeling inside.
Why?
How did Xiaji know the basilisk lurked here? How could he stare at it unharmed? And why did Slytherin's wand radiate such staggering power? Xiaji turned toward Tom's diary, then let out a sinister cackle, the very laugh of a supervillain. Tom, thank you so much. Without you, I'd have spent ages searching to find Slytherin's chamber. His voice dripped with eerie calm. Tom stood frozen. Those words carried staggering implications. Chapter 209. Tom, are we not the best of friends? The basilisk remained curled up behind Xiaji, too afraid to move. Xiaji raised his wand and unleashed a bright purple beam of light toward the diary. He was about to reveal his true intentions. Tom had always been a villain at heart, so Xiaji intended to expose himself as an even greater villain. Only by utterly intimidating Tom could he then proceed with his own plans. Snap! The diary was struck, and gradually, a ghostly figure began to materialize within its pages. Tom's silhouette gradually solidified, and in shock, he raised his hands to examine them. He realized that his soul had become stronger than ever before. Now, he could actually break free from the constraints of the diary. Xiaji. Tom stared at Xiaji in disbelief. The current Xiaji appeared utterly alien. The timid, cowardly demeanor he once displayed had vanished completely. Now, Xiaji wore an expression of confidence, composure, and pride. He was like a perfect replica of Tom himself. Did you deceive me? Tom's face twisted in anguish. By now, how could he not realize that Xiaji had lied to him? Yes, I did deceive you. But didn't you also deceive me, Tom? Or rather, perhaps I should call you. Xiaji waved his wand. Suddenly, a series of letters appeared in midair. Tom Marvolo Riddle. Then, the sequence rearranged itself into a single phrase. I am Voldemort. Voldemort. You truly are Voldemort, aren't you? Your very name foretold it. Xiaji smiled warmly at Tom. Tom clenched his teeth. I don't recall ever telling you my middle name. Xiaji responded with a mocking grin. Oh, of course. The foolish, timid, Pathetic Xiaji would never possibly know the secret hidden deep within the heart of the great Voldemort, right? Tom suddenly understood. During the time he'd been asleep, Xiaji must have learned countless secrets from him. Furious, he demanded. So, your claim of admiring Voldemort was also a lie? Of course. How could I possibly admire a madman? Xiaji taunted, deliberately provoking Tom. Madman. Tom's handsome face twisted in rage. How dare you speak so? Voldemort is the greatest wizard the world has ever known. Ha! Whether Voldemort is the greatest wizard or not, what does that have to do with you, Tom? Xiaji narrowed his eyes, speaking softly. Boom! Tom felt as though lightning had struck his very heart. The seed already sprouting within him, nurtured by Xiaji's words, now exploded into a towering tree. Yes, Voldemort was never truly me. I'm merely a tool meant to ensure his immortality. I'm just a discarded snake skin, abandoned by him. Tom's face turned pale, his eyes glazed over. All I have to do is stay hidden in darkness, enduring endless solitude, so he never dies. Xiaji, fully embracing his role as the ultimate antagonist, continued to torment Tom's fragile psyche. Tom, the moment I first saw you, I knew exactly what you were, a Horcrux. You reek of pure evil. Did you really believe that Horcruxes could save you from death? That they could grant eternal life? Foolish. Heliophorus of ancient Greece was the first wizard ever to use Horcruxes. If they truly ensured immortality, he'd still be alive today. Yet have you ever even heard a whisper about him? Splitting your soul into Horcruxes does nothing but fragment your own mind, driving you insane. Do you think Salazar Slytherin himself ever made any Horcruxes? If not, it's because no one else is as foolish as you, Tom. Truth be told, last year I encountered your original soul fragment. It was pitifully clinging to someone's brain, half dead and broken. It still lurks in the forests of Albania, possessing small animals just to survive. Is this the immortality you crave? Each of Xiaji's words struck Tom like nails, driving deep into his heart. He now deeply regretted ever creating Horcruxes. He was only 16 at the time, in the prime of his life, when most people never even consider death. Yet why had he gone to such lengths? At this moment, Tom felt utterly foolish. If you knew what I was, why didn't you destroy me? Tom gasped, eyes bloodshot, staring at Xiaji. Destroy you? No, when I realized you were Voldemort's Horcrux, I was ecstatic. After all, Tom, you must know exactly where the Chamber of Secrets is, right? You want to open it?
But why?
And how did you even learn of its existence? Everything within the chamber belongs to me, not to you, Tom. Xiaji spoke coldly, ignoring Tom's questions. Do you mean? Tom's gaze suddenly locked onto the serpentine wand in Xiaji's hand. His eyes widened. This is Salazar Slytherin's wand. And you speak Parseltongue. Does this mean you're also a descendant of Slytherin? Xiaji sneered. At this point, does it even matter whether I'm a descendant or not? All I know is that by claiming everything in the chamber, I'll become immeasurably powerful. You just want to grow stronger? Tom stared at him in astonishment. Of course. Don't you want the same? I've never lied to you, Tom. We share the same origins. I also grew up at Wool's orphanage, and the moment I first displayed my unique talents, a werewolf captured me. A blood-red glow flickered in Xiaji's eyes. He tortured me with countless forms of dark magic for a full 6 months. Do you know how I survived that time, Tom? Because I understood the very force he used against me. I possess it too. So, I waited for my chance. Once I escaped, I vowed to use that same power to destroy him. From that day on, I realized one thing. If you don't grow strong enough, no one will ever respect you. Only when you're powerful enough that everyone bows before you will they ever treat you with reverence, right? Thanks to you, I found the chamber's location. The basilisk is quite impressive, but now it's mine. The magical tome within the chamber also belongs to me now. Ha ha ha. Xiaji erupted into a deranged laugh. You won't succeed, Tom spoke defiantly, uttering the very words only heroes dare to say. Yet such words often signaled utter helplessness. Oh, and how exactly do you plan to stop me? Xiaoji smiled, stepping closer to Tom. The gemstone atop his wand pulsed with eerie green light. I'll destroy your diary right now, then go to Dumbledore and earn his trust. As a wizard who destroyed one of Voldemort's Horcruxes, I'm sure he'd reward me with a special contribution award. Tom suddenly recalled something. Hadn't he himself received such an award after framing Hagrid? It seemed almost like fate repeating itself. Please don't kill me, Tom pleaded unwillingly. He'd never uttered such words before. It was always others begging him for mercy. When had he ever begged for anything? What did you say? Xiaoji appeared genuinely surprised. I said, please don't kill me. I don't want to die. You're merely a Horcrux.
No.
I'm not a Horcrux. I'm Tom. Tom Marvolo Riddle. What difference does it make? Xiaoji gazed at him with morbid curiosity. I'm not Voldemort. Tom spoke earnestly. Does my killing you have anything to do with whether you're Voldemort or not? Xiaoji chuckled mockingly. Aren't we friends? I'm your best friend, right? Seeing the glow from the wand, Tom grasped at his final straw, shouting desperately. He truly couldn't accept this. He still had so much left to do. He didn't want to die. Xiaoji's wand now pressed against Tom's throat. Tom gasped, trembling in terror at the sight of the wand. Tom, though I knew what you truly were, I did try to treat you as a friend. Xiaoji spoke softly. A glimmer of hope flared in Tom's eyes. But when you handed me that horribly flawed potion recipe, I realized. Tom, you're nothing but an ungrateful traitor. I can never treat you as a friend. You're merely a tool to me. You forced my hand after all. I admit, at first I treated you as a tool. But later, I truly began seeing you as a friend. You must have noticed I even planned to improve that potion recipe. I intended to restore it to its original form without letting you know. Tom spoke frantically, breathless. Xiaoji's pitch-black eyes locked onto Tom's. Instantly, Tom felt his once-proud acclimacy defenses crumble under Xiaoji's legitimacy. Incredible. You're speaking the truth. Xiaoji stared at him in awe. You're just a Horcrux, the Horcrux of a vilest dark wizard in history, and yet you genuinely wish to be friends with me? Perhaps I've spent too long in darkness. I'm so lonely. I truly hate being nothing but a Horcrux. You despise living merely as a Horcrux, and yet you also hope to replace Voldemort. Xiaoji's eyes remained dark, unblinking. Then, slowly, his lips curled upward. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. A clash between two Toms. That'd be quite the spectacle. He lowered his wand. Tom exhaled in relief. His life was temporarily safe. For some reason, standing before Xiaoji, he felt utterly powerless to resist. It was as though Xiaoji was his destined nemesis. All right, have you two finished making a scene? Suddenly, a voice rang out to both Xiaoji and Tom. Xiaoji spun around swiftly, wand raised, shouting, Who's there? Chapter 210. Idiot, how could you get into Gryffindor? At the base of that massive Slytherin statue, a dark silhouette suddenly appeared. The chamber was dimly lit, and Xiaoji couldn't make out the figure's features clearly, only that he wasn't particularly tall. The shadow slowly emerged from the darkness. Tom Riddle's eyes filled with shock as he stared at the figure before him, then glanced back at the enormous statue. Impossible. Are you Slytherin? Tom looked utterly incredulous. Xiaoji showed no surprise whatsoever, as if he'd anticipated this all along. His grip on his wand tightened significantly. Yes, I am Slytherin. The old man bore an exact resemblance to the statue in the chamber. Long, sparse beard, a comically simian face, and an expression utterly devoid of any kindness. I presume you didn't actually make yourself into a Horcrux, right? Xiaoji asked coldly, eyeing Slytherin. If you already knew I'd appear, why bother testing me with such questions? You must have realized exactly what sort of being I am now. If I'm not mistaken, you possess prophetic abilities. I have an old friend. You carry the same aura as her. Though Slytherin's appearance was rather unimpressive, his eyes shone with remarkable vitality. This time, Xiaji truly felt astonished. Slytherin had recognized his prophetic talent at a single glance. Truly worthy of being Slytherin, even now, when he was merely a fragment of a soul. Yet even this mere fragment of a soul far surpassed Tom's own fragmented soul, which had been turned into a Horcrux. If you truly are Slytherin, then why didn't you appear when I first opened the chamber? Tom now fully believed this old man was indeed Slytherin. Yet he remained baffled. When he first opened the chamber, there had only been a sleeping basilisk and some magical scrolls. Slytherin's soul had never manifested at all. Slytherin cast a pitying glance at Tom. Child, death is nothing to be feared. You ought never to have created Horcruxes. Death is not worth fearing? Tom found this utterly incomprehensible. He feared death above all else. That was precisely why he sought to escape it entirely. Slytherin then turned his gaze to Xiaji, his solemn eyes fixed on the wand in his hand. That's my wand. It served me faithfully for many years. Only when my wand appears in the chamber do I awaken. Oh, I see you've made some minor modifications to it. I must say, you might well be the most brilliant descendant I've ever had. Perhaps you'll even surpass me. Wait a moment. Who exactly do you mean by descendant? Ah, both of you are my descendants. Otherwise, how could the basilisk I left behind obey both of you? And only a true descendant of Slytherin can truly wield my wand. Slytherin spoke with deep emotion. I must correct you, I'm from the East. Oh, indeed. When I left Hogwarts, I traveled to the East too. It was truly. Slytherin's face brimmed with nostalgia and fond recollection. Xiaji shot him a sideways glance. So this old fellow had gone to the East and caused trouble among the local girls too? Xiaji recalled that Slytherin was already quite aged when he fell out with the other 3 founders of Hogwarts. I'm not your descendant. No, you are. Both of you are. I've made it clear. Only Slytherin's descendants can speak Parseltongue, control my basilisk, and wield my wand. Slytherin remained insistent. Who says only your descendants can speak Parseltongue? Parseltongue is an exceedingly rare gift, passed down solely through bloodlines. Even in my own lifetime, I was the only wizard possessing it left in the world. Slytherin gazed at Xiaji with profound affection. He was quite pleased with this descendant. True, Tom was also his descendant and quite talented, but Tom had turned himself into a Horcrux, a fact that filled Slytherin with regret and sorrow. A fragmented soul inevitably lost its sanity over time. No matter how gifted, such a person would inevitably become a madman. Xiaji, however, possessed an intact soul. At just 11 or 12 years old, he'd already managed to improve Slytherin's wand. What staggering talent! This made Slytherin immensely proud. Truly worthy of being a descendant of Salazar Slytherin. Are you certain I'm truly your descendant? Absolutely certain. Xiaji's lips curled slightly upward. He then grabbed the hem of his school uniform, revealing the Gryffindor crest beneath. Can a descendant of yours also end up in Gryffindor? Slytherin's cheerful expression instantly turned slack with shock. What? You're a Gryffindor? Indeed, no mistake about it. You insolent brat. As my descendant, how dare you end up in Gryffindor? Huh? The Sorting Hat assigned me to Gryffindor fair and square. With your abilities, wasn't it easy to fool the Sorting Hat? Huh? You're implying I deceived the Sorting Hat. Xiaji fell speechless for a moment. He had indeed tricked the Sorting Hat, simply because he'd wanted to avoid Azkaban. I'm furious. You actually joined that wretched Gryffindor house. Aren't you two friends? We parted ways ages ago. Slytherin was now seething. Finally, he'd found a descendant of unparalleled talent, only to discover he'd joined Gryffindor. Seems I'll have to teach you a proper lesson. Ha! You trying to scare me? You're just a fragment of a soul. What can you possibly do? Asterisk thwack. Asterisk. Slytherin raised his hand, unleashing a dark green spell. Whoa! Xiaji effortlessly dodged it, blasting off a killing curse as a lesson. Novice. All green spells are killing curses. Nonsense. I'd recognize a killing curse anywhere. Tom stood by, utterly stunned, watching Xiaoji and Slytherin bicker and duel in equal measure. Only now did Tom fully grasp just how powerful Xiaoji was. Though Slytherin was merely a fragment of a soul, he still wielded magic with ease, albeit perhaps not with the same potency as in his prime. Yet his endless array of techniques and spells left Tom utterly dazzled. Even so, even Slytherin's skill proved insufficient to best Xiaoji. To Tom's eyes, Xiaoji merely waved his wand casually, graceful as a conductor leading an orchestra, yet each motion perfectly deflected Slytherin's attacks and even countered with devastating precision. After all, Tom was still just 16-year-old Voldemort. He lacked the profound magical mastery he'd later attain. He knew that if he'd faced Slytherin instead, he'd only have managed to withstand the first 3 spells. Beyond that, he wouldn't have understood half of what occurred. He now fully grasped the vast gulf between himself and Xiaoji, and grew ever more in awe of him. Of course, all this was precisely because of the seed Xiaoji had planted deep within his soul. Xiaoji himself marveled inwardly, truly worthy of Slytherin. Had he not anticipated both the precise landing points of Slytherin's spells and his next moves, Xiaoji would have struggled immensely to hold his ground. Slytherin's dueling expertise was simply staggering. Had Xiaoji lacked prophetic talent, he'd have had to rely purely on raw magical power, erecting shields to endure Slytherin's assaults and retaliating in kind. While Xiaoji stood awestruck, Slytherin was equally astounded. No matter what techniques or feints he employed, Xiaoji always saw through them instantly and countered with perfect precision. Xiaoji's retaliatory spells invariably struck exactly where Slytherin intended to dodge. Slytherin realized this was all due to Xiaoji's innate prophetic abilities, a natural advantage. What peerless genius! Yet the more brilliant Xiaoji became, the angrier Slytherin grew. "You insolent brat! How dare you end up in Gryffindor?" They clashed violently once more, neither gaining any edge. In sheer desperation, Slytherin relied on his unparalleled dueling experience to force a stalemate with Xiaoji. Eventually, Slytherin called off the fight. Had it continued, he'd have been the one to lose. At one point, he'd attempted to disrupt Xiaoji's wand. After all, it had served him for so many years. If successful, Xiaoji would have stood defenseless. Yet when he confidently attempted this interference, he discovered his former wand now utterly ignored him. The Serpenthood wand had fully submitted to Xiaoji. This was one key reason Slytherin chose to end the duel. Now, Slytherin felt nothing but immense satisfaction toward this descendant. Only one thing irked him, that he was a Gryffindor. Xiaoji had long since given up on explaining. Let the old man think whatever he pleased. Enough. Gryffindor, so be it. Slytherin spoke irritably. You too, do you have any other family? Xiaoji. I'm an orphan, Tom. Me too. Slytherin fell silent, utterly stunned. Neither of his descendants had any family at all. To be precise, Tom is now your sole remaining descendant, Xiaoji stated calmly. The Gaunt family ends with him. Impossible. I had so many descendants. Slytherin seemed distraught. Impossible?
Ha!
I've never seen a family so foolish. To preserve pure bloodlines, your descendants married each other, resulting in barely any normal children. Naturally, your family dwindled to nothing. I never instructed them to maintain purity through such means. Slytherin had slept for millennia. He'd no idea his descendants had so gravely misinterpreted him. There are so many wizards in the world. As long as they're pure blood, Slytherin murmured to himself. Yet pureblood families are growing ever rarer. Before Xiaoji could finish, Slytherin understood. Pureblood families intermarried, gradually becoming inbred themselves and meeting the same fate. Could my theories on pure blood be flawed? Slytherin felt profound sorrow. His family might have faded into oblivion precisely because of his erroneous beliefs. Though pureblood families that cling to such ideals refuse to admit it, many have always included Muggle-born wizards among them. Otherwise, they'd have vanished long ago into history's dust. Xiaoji spoke coldly. Still, you imagine your pure blood theory is flawless? Yet, if wizards marry muggles, their bloodlines become tainted, producing squibs, those who can't wield magic at all. Even muggle-born wizards are impure. How can they deserve to learn true magic? Slytherin still harbored deep prejudice against muggle-born wizards. Compared to a family survival, what does it matter if a few squibs appear now and then? You're neglecting the essential for trivialities. Xiaji shook his head. To sacrifice an entire family just to avoid a few squibs? Utterly foolish. Besides, you've slept for millennia. Do you realize how many brilliant muggle-born wizards Hogwarts has produced?